Shalom, so Yabashin Shabakatah. 18 to Wab. So you sound kind of muffled on my end, Salakia.
Yes, Salakia, you all right?
I hear you a bit better. It's still a bit muffled, but I hear you better.
Let's take off. How about now?
It's still been muffled, but it's way better than before.
I hear you on my talk a minute.
Salakia, so you sound far right now. I can hear you, but you sound far.
Yeah, you hear me, right?
Salakia, so you hear me? Salaki, sir, you hear me? Salaki, sir, can you hear me now?
It's on the volume knob now. Don't know why.
Yeah, you know. One, two, one, two. One, two, one, two.
Salaki, can you hear me?
What?
Can you hear me?
Nine, nine, eight.
Okay, let me mute myself on
So can you hear me now?
Yes. Right.
Can you hear me?
You hear me now?
I
I hear you fine, but I can't hear you. I don't think you can hear me.
Right. Your mic on mute.
Can you hear me now? One second.
Nah, still in here. The volume still down.
Can you hear me now? So I try to use the Can you hear me?
Right? Yes, Alan.
Most High in Christ, sir.
For your with me speaking to my mic.
Yeah, that's all right. Can you hear me now? Say, yeah, I'm on the computer now. All right, let me rock with that and see what going on. All right. Yes, sure, I'm able to protect. Slack. Well, go ahead and let me hear how we looking now.
It sounds to Wab. Do you hear me fine?
Yeah, you coming in loud and clear.
Most
Loud
High in
and
Christ. Yeah, but you rock star.
yeah, but I'm sure it's all right. Let me get out. So again, this is I.S.U.P.K Trinidad and Tobago, right? Again, tonight is our scripture breakdown class, and just as we continue to remind brothers and sisters, to continue to pay your tithes, go up on I.S.U.P.K webpage, click on the QR code, because there is a QR code, right? And you can pay tithes from the link will direct you straight to the where you'll be able to connect, right? So okay. Yeah, right. So again, this past week was where our native brothers, or what they would call native indigenous people, had a week of activity, right? And if you're familiar with that, Sabrakiala.
So sir.
Yeah. Yes. No, the week of where the indigenous people, had a week of activities now, where they would recognize, their what we call ancestors now. But again, it have a lot of history behind that, where they were, let me say, weren't privy to because of religion and the Christian church. Because now where they would be joined into is what we will call, the Santa Rosa, or we would call the Roman Catholic Church, because they were heavily indoctrinated with, the doctrine of Rome and the Pope, and they follow that heavily, our native brothers, right? So this is why it's so important, that we continue to bring this reminder and remind them that that part of the history that they, have no foreknowledge of. This is why, the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA, with, in the spirit of the Most High and Christ, that we were privy, through these records, and, the Most High God again raising up black men and all native indigenous brothers and sisters, with always look and wouldn't, they would have that spirit or that similar feeling that, hey, some way or other, that we have that connect, with black people, who we just call to the African people. But really and truly, this is not who we are, right? Because now we come from a family line, and that family line that we came from now is, is brothers that had that disconnect. And why we had that disconnect is because of the disobedience, because not following the instructions laid down for us by, our forefathers. And our forefathers, as I say in scriptures, the scripture we say, where our fathers, have not known these gods. We're talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Right? If you get pulled up, right? Because again, these men before, before these 12 sons, came on board, these men would serve the Most High God, and they would have a high, let me say, a high status, or a high recognition of the Most High because of what they did. And, because of they following that same pattern or that same pathway of instructions and not turning, the Most High God recognize these men. And these men, would not turn to the left nor turn to the right, because they know the consequences, and they were privy to previous, knowledge in past, that mistakes were made by this family. And the Most High God chose Abraham, because now when we go back in Genesis now, we'll see where he tell Abraham that, to move away or bring him away from, time to come away from your family or from your fathers. Because now you see the Most High God starting to do what? Starting to narrow it down now, where he has a reputation, and his reputation must be upheld, because his reputation is of a high standard. And this is why, when you look back, what Abraham demonstrated, Commanding General YAHANNA went in on it heavy when, again with Captain Zarat, when, the oppressor visit and was on the little interview. And he explained that, what Abraham did, the faith that he had was like blind faith. And the Most High God recognized him for that. And this is why, what we walking after. That's why I say, blessed is the man that have not seen but do, but believe. And that was so heavy when Commander General, make that, because die the Lord, die the reality, die the Lord. So now brothers and sisters can hear this and understand that, hey, this is not religion that we're dealing with. This is our family. And a family walking after instructions would always continue on that pathway, because now we have like good foresight or good recognition. Because why? We see what the Most High God could do before we eyes. And we have many examples, right? Yeah, the scripture, Officer.
This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth, even unto the other.
Right? And why? Why the Most High God had scattered us from one end of the earth even to the other? Go ahead.
Karawakan. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Right? And here you hear that part again, it is so important because now it narrowing it down and it's showing you these are the men who have not known. Again, there was open to it, but what they do? They stay on that pathway just as from the beginning, because now the Most High God raised us up from the dust of the ground, from a low state. And what he do? He breathed life into we, or give we instructions. And these men and them always kept these instructions on in their time, in their time in walking, and continue to walk after the instructions of the Lord. And now, because us now as children coming up underneath, a society that always had a plan, always had an agenda to do what? To keep us separated. Because now they were don't as we say, don't get wax. Their forefathers were privy to encounters with us when we stand in good standing with the Lord, because it had testament inside that they were, the heathen would make a statement or make a testament and say, hey, if these people walking after the Lord, don't go behind them. Anytime they stop following the God, then we could be able to, to go at them. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So like you said, that's one body right here, because I was following that precept in the apocryphal belief just in case. Good.
Yes, that's not. Go ahead.
There's the book of Judith, chapter 5, verse 20.
Go ahead.
Now therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error in this people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. Verse 21.
Mm-hmm.
But if there be
we are Judith 4:1.
Judith chapter 5, verse 20.
All right. Go ahead.
Karawakan, verse 21. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their God be for them, and will become a reproach before all the world.
Right. And this is where we are right now. Because you know why? Now we stop or we fail to follow the instructions of the Lord. Now when you look at what's happening to us today, now everybody building off our, let me say, our failure to follow these instructions, because it that's no man have a scripture here, and again that show you that everybody else with us. Give me Genesis 22:8 Bible question.
Karawakan.
22:18 Bible question. So that.
Karawakan, sir. This is the book of Genesis, chapter 22,
Right.
verse 18.
So start at 15.
Karawakan. Genesis chapter 22, verse 15. And the angel of the Lord called unto Abraham out of heaven the second time.
Right, go ahead.
Karawakan. Verse 16. And said, by myself have I sworn, said the Lord, For because thou hast done this thing, and hast not withheld thy son, thine only son.
And just a backdrop on what we're reading about now. This is the time when, you know, Abraham went or followed the instructions that the Lord just brought before, with blind faith. And, you know, he followed the instruction that the Lord gave him. He didn't even fetch. He continued on. And what he was going to do, he was going to unalive his own son. Right? Go ahead.
Karawakan, verse 17. That in blessing I will bless thee,
Mm-hmm.
and in multiplying I will multiply thy seed as the stars of the heaven,
Right.
and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And thy seed shall possess the gate of his enemies.
Right. And this is how you know it directing it to a certain seed. It directing it to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. This is how we know that. Because now what we have now, it demonstrating, it's showing you enemies. Go ahead.
Wakan, verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed.
Read that one more time, Babu.
Wakan, Genesis chapter 22, verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed.
And what we see happening today, because of us being, as we say, we in the four corners of the earth, we scattered right now. What happening in these other nations thriving? We don't in China. They even telling it our black people in China. Look, this as we say, the brother from Houston, of 5,000 Malakwat, where his son is on a scholarship or something. I believe his son somewhere down there in Japan or wherever.
Some like Singapore, I think, and something like that.
So you see how these other nations them thriving because why? That's why again it show you that we are the salt of the earth. And this is why it say that. This is why now the Most High God, as any good father, seeing the affliction, seeing what is taking place to us and what he's going to do, he's going to draw us out. And this is why now the time that we're in right now is the Most High God waking us up. And if our indigenous brothers and sisters don't know, or native Indians, or these names that they call them, or by names, every nation should apologize to these brothers and sisters, or to this family. Because why? You infringe within the space. You came to their lands, you rob, you pillage, and you destroy, and you continue to push them in corners and reservations, in bayous, places where they would be extinct or out of sight. As we know, we say out of sight, out of mind. This is where these nations, would do and continue to do. And this is why we as a people and as a nation, should be reminded of this. Because why? As family, and again to the native indigenous people, again we would always, I hear Captain Yataza, down in Houston, he apologized to our Issacharites brothers, for not, bringing it or making them known. Hey, we nobody never really come out and say the sorry, for being on your land, and for you being a brother in inviting us. And this is why now we would always say again to our brothers within the Caribbean, because now again we will go and review just now, because what we're showing here, or what we getting at, is these what I would call first people, or by names, or Carib and Iraq. That is an insult to black people. That is an insult to our native indigenous people. And again, they have, as you say, we have names. This would be, again, the 10 or the 9.5 tribes that live within the time of the Assyrian captivity and came to this side. And this is why now when we hold these books again, this, you see this? This is where the Roman Catholic remove from our native indigenous brothers and sisters from knowing that part of the history. And being not privy, as you see, the Bible is one book. That is one book. That is the part where they took out from, you know, the King James Version. And again, King James was a black man. When every time we hear about King James, we would always have that wide depiction in the mind. And this is why, again, we have the full breakdown or the full in-depth about colors or color scriptures, we would call, or milk scriptures, where we show brothers and sisters, hey, it have a reason why it had a description inside here about our King, Yahweh or Jesus Christ. And everything that we bring is of utmost importance because now is a reminder. Why is a reminder? Because our people were let me say, to the point where privy to this knowledge, the Most High God would always have righteous black men. Or we choose what we would call gatekeepers. And the men and them who were supposed to uphold that which would be, as you say, the religious black leaders, they failed. And they leave the gate wide open. And what happened? The enemy sneak in. He sneak in. Right under, as they say, under the watch. Because now, where they were looking at a society that was building and you know, thinking that, hey, I want to be part of that. But not knowing that you were the original rulers of the earth. Kings and again, kings of the earth. And because now, again, you remove yourself from these instructions, where you become a servant. And this is why it's so important for us to come back and follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Yeah. So read that, the 22 and 18 Bible one more time.
Genesis chapter 22, verse 18. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed.
Right.
Because thou had obeyed my voice.
What he added?
Because thou hadst obeyed my voice.
And if we obey the voice of the Lord, what would happen to us? Now, just as he say in Deuteronomy chapter 22 and verse 1, coming down, as you say, if we adhere to do all these and follow these instructions, we will come upon us. All these blessings shall come upon us. When we reach 15 and we hit 15, it's like a, you know, like a short list, you know, where your riches or your blessing are short listed. But now I will show you all what will happen to you if, you know, I'll take away all your blessings from you. And they start to list it down. And they start to go into detail. So it's like a sword cutting you. You say this is where you're going to be blessed with. This is where it is. Jump it. Let me speculate, or let me say Deuteronomy 28.
So like I said, do you want me to start at verse 1 or verse 15?
Yes, just start at verse 1,
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth.
So you see, us in our diligence, us as a people and as a nation, walking after these instructions, we will be set above all nations on the earth. All. It didn't say some. It didn't say piece. It didn't say part. It didn't say a percent. It say all. It say all. Right? Go ahead.
Wakan, verse 2. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
Right? So now how what we just read in Genesis 22 and 18. We
So,
see, go ahead.
That all the nations will be blessed because of us.
So you see what's going on? Because why? Because now we follow following these instructions of the Lord. We are adhering and we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, because why? In the sight of the Lord, Abraham was what? Was found what?
So like you said, he was so like I think I have an English word for it.
It call him a faithful what?
Faithful servant to follow his life.
Right, because now he walked after the instructions. He didn't budge. Now, when doing that, now this is why now when you look at us today and where we were and where we are right now, you see as you say a total fall. But again, your religious leaders would always dwell on that part where they always want to show the bad side and not bring that it have a healing process whereby we could be healed. And without them bringing that foreknowledge of this healing process, they would continue to do what? To expose Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians to the element of this society which would continue to oppress them. And this is why the I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA would continue to do what? To enlighten brothers, to enlighten sisters, to enlighten this house, this family, these brothers and them, that there's the Most High God that always made our way back. Despite our we being stubborn and rebellious, there was always a way back. Right? Right? So I just go in and read some little notes, a little brief history now, where they would be privy to, because again, we could Google and we could go up on Google and and we'll find information. But now, as we say, the piece of the puzzle that they missed and wasn't totally privy to was this record, was the Bible. And this is why now they had that they were, let me say, 100 years before, let me say, what we'd say black people came across the European or the colonizer, Columbus and his entourage. They run a mockery amongst our brothers, and their job was always to divide, because now his journey on this side was a journey to a lot of people would say he came to this side, or let me say growing up here he'd say, hey, when Columbus he was looking for this place called El Dorado, a place where you have gold or whatever. But when we're exposed and the Most High God raise righteous black men and the teacher, and they realize, wait now, the goal that he really come to this side for was this people that we just read about. Because now we're reading Genesis. We're reading Genesis just now. How they will be blessed. Them blessing is through us. Yeah. Yeah, them blessing is through us. Yeah. Because why? And we see again, we could pull multiple, or we could, read multiple stories in our records where the heathen and them were being, as we say, shred to parts, and we had to come in. Because why? The the protection, as you say, these people, the Lord with them. So when the Lord with them, you know, we could get a little mercy, a little grace, a little ease up, right? So, right, that's reading a little, and this is something that they would be privy to it, right? It say around 6,000 years ago, the first people, right, to inhabit the Caribbean arrived in Cuba, Haiti, Dominican Republic by boat, right? So it shows now that again, and we'll go back in the scriptures again, and we go read. So that's whole in the Apocrypha, I think, is 2nd Ezra 13, right? 2nd Ezra 13, because now we're reading now, so they just give an average before that time, right? That they came across here, and these would, as we say, where they would say, where they would land or first, you know, recognize as based on, you know, this history, right? And then it jump back now and it's about 2,500 to 3,000 years, right? A second group of people migrated to the Caribbean. This group was, you know, was potters and farmers, right? Right? We all call them Primitive Age people, right? They were related to the Arawak speaking people from Northeast South America. So now it's just that little short, brief history where it's showing you now or giving you an insight that, you know, these people is something that we will go privy to, right? And it's like this pathway that to come across on, as we say, to the west, it had existence. It always had that existence, right? And these people were privy or had privy knowledge. The west, where everybody would say the west, right? So it says now, right, on October 12, 1942, right, Columbus, a skilled sailor searching for a western trade route on behalf of Spain, made landfall in the Bahamas. So his first drop was in the Bahamas, right? In 1492, right? So he, as we say, he landed there. Here we say he was searching for western trade route. If you come into this side, how you know it have, let me say, people on this side? Because now you're drawing reference to trade. You're drawing reference to trade. And this is why, you know, again, these things is so important and need to be highlighted. Because now, if you say that over on this side it didn't have no inhabitants or it didn't have no existence as civilization, then how the hell you coming across on this road now to look for trade? What trade you going to do? What trade you going to do? So it shows you the deception, us being deceived, and this is why now again our native brothers or first people, they were deceived. This is why now when they came here, when you go back and you look again back in because I had a lot of history with them. So they would dwell on Santa Rosa, so they would dwell on let me say on the Pope. On that side of the story, and they'll draw close to the as we say, to Cesar Borgia or why Jesus. This is why they would have that statue or that depiction throughout all where, you know, these people reside. So it's like, hey, one time I start to colonize your mind one time, right? And it says that, you know, he coming on this side, on the western side, looking for trade route. That was a lie. That was a lie, right? Then it says now, it says Christopher Columbus was the first, right, European, I say first white man, right, migrated to the Caribbean, right? The group was, right, that's not it, to the, right, to set foot on the island when he claimed it for Spain on May 3rd, 1494, during his second voyage to the New World, right? So here, here we say New World. Why it using these specifics, or using phrases like these? Because now it show you that our colonizer was already again on route are trying to rounds us all up, rounds up these 12 tribes, because now they know one thing, that wherever we are, the Lord would have that hedge or that protection over us, as long as we following these laws, statutes, and commandments. And this is why now, when we go to second Ezra. Right? Let's see. Second Ezra 13.
Oh, second Ezra chapter 13, verse 40.
Yeah.
Let me read it right now, sir.
Yeah.
Karabokan. The book of second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king,
Right.
whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive.
Right. And that's all right. That's all right. Right. Because now when you read higher up in the verse now, it gave you a full breakdown and detail where the split in the family, right? And this was in the time where after Solomon passed, it had, let me say, a civil unrest within the nation, that everybody was fighting for power, and fighting for power now. Let me say, brothers again coming up rivalry against one another. Who's saying, I supposed to be in charge? Who's saying, nice, me supposed to be in charge? And again, different. And what we learn that from? Because why? It's see, when we take up the customs and the cultures from these other nations, we learn, as we say, the wicked ways or the nasty, dirty ways. And what happened? We started practice it within the family. And when we practice it within the family, now what happened now? Now the scriptures will say that how in this king did evil in the sight of the Lord. How the hell you go do evil in the sight of the Lord when you come up on that family, knowing that the Lord bless or had this family, as kings or rulers of the earth? How the hell you can come up under that? Because you know why? Because we become many lovers to them. We take up the custom, the ways. Again, straight back to Genesis, we hide amongst them, clothed in the culture. And this is why, again, it's so important, right? So, we start at 40.
Kawakan, second Ezra chapter 13, we're in the middle of verse 40, other one.
Right, that's right.
Kawakan, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
Right, so now when we go back, we can go into Second Kings. You'll get the history in Second Kings 17. We show you that same Salmanassar and Hosea, because now that's all right. Because now it's loud here. Let's see somebody at the door. Give me 1 minute, Papa.
Kawakan, sir.
You understand? After basically the split of Israel, this is when, you understand, um, 10 tribes were carried away as it began by Salmanasseh, the king of Assyria, the heathen, who had us captives. And the reason we were held captives time after time by the heathens is because we kept disobeying the Messiah. We'll pass it back to Officer 5000 Sawak Yahweh Salak.
Now you go and you to what you're going good, right?
Wakhan, sir.
Right. So as you read that now we showing you again. You're reading from this book where, you know, as we say, where the Roman Catholic Church or they remove, and now we could go back in the Bible and we could see the same account. This is why we say this is one book. They just removed this part of the record because, you know, they understood how important or the piece of the puzzle that would join everything to the coming of our King Yahweh Jesus Christ. And that part of the puzzle is what they had to remove. But notice, the Most High God always had men reserved, always had, you know, his prophets, always had, you know, the priesthood reserved to do what? That this truth would continue. This truth would be brought out and nothing would be hid. That why I say no more that, you know, that these men would be hid in a corner anymore. We have no more hiding. They have no more hiding. And we telling our brothers, as we say, the first people, you know, or however, you know, you will recognize as you have names. And this is why now when we're reading that, we're going into detail to show that, hey, that we were brothers. We were brothers, right? So I would just always, I would just read in 2 Kings 17, right? 2 Kings 17 and 1, right? In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years, right? Verse 2. And he said he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not the kings of Israel that were before him. So now the men that were before him, they didn't do evil. What he did now, he did evil in the sight of the Lord. It says in verse 3, against him came up SHALAM, king of Assyria, and Hosea became his servant and gave him presents, right? Verse 4. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy, right, in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to the king of Egypt and brought no presents to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore, the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison, right? So now we now read in 2nd Ezra, where you know that they were carried over the waters, right? Here we say, verse 5, right? Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. So you see what taking place. So now what Ezra's receiving here is something that history that happened to this people, happened to, you know, to these brothers and them, because of what? Because of us not following the instructions of the Lord, right? So you can continue on where you are, Babakusha.
Kalawakan, 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 41. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Verse 42. That they might keep their keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Right. So it say that how so you see now within that time now, after being under, as you say, heavy oppression, knowing that, hey, you see this? Let me look to, make a run for it. Who did the same thing?
So, could you repeat the question, Babu Kushan?
Right, like how they draw reference that, as they say, they took counsel amongst themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Right. So now we talking about our native indigenous brothers and sisters. Right. They flee from what? From as you say, from persecution, turmoil. Who did the same thing?
So like you say, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
When the Romans ransacked Jerusalem,
Right.
we did the same thing and fled from the Roman oppression to dwell in West Africa temporarily.
That's right. That is why when you look, and again I tell you, it have a lot of history in this, and that's why, as we say, we doing it in parts, because now what we doing right now, this week where they call Indigenous Week, these brothers and them were gathering together because they wanted to remember what took place to their forefathers, and the piece of the puzzle that is not that was hid from them, now it's being connected back. Why? Because now you're understanding that it wasn't just you alone, because now we're talking about family. And this is again a question that was posed to our native indigenous people. Your interaction when, as we say, when our forefathers, as we say, or black people came here, the interaction that you had with them, what was it like, having that interaction with them? Because remember now, again, the colonizer here, and now you're bringing people now who face the same persecution that you were faced with. Now, what was your interaction, or as we say, or meeting and with these, as you say, brothers, or your brothers from the transatlantic slave trade, right? This would be a question posed to you all. And again, why I saying brothers? Because they were brothers. They were family. And why we say they were family? Because now we're reading about it here. Right? Go ahead.
Khan, verse 43. And so like second Ezra chapter 13, verse 43. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river.
Right. So now when you read in the, as we say in the little piece of article, where again, it said that how they arrive here by boats.
Khan.
So now it's showing you again, and all of that you can pull up and you can see what that pathway, what it took. All this can be found in as we say, in history. Go ahead.
Khan, verse 44. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over.
And this is why even to today, you would see the native indigenous people carrying out a water ceremony. You would see that they're doing that. Why? If you're going to ask them the reason why, now again, the history that was cut off from them was this part. Because now all they understand is that the Most High God was looked some way along the path where the Most High God was watching over us. Now we're reading it directly from the instructions from our records. Go ahead, Slag, yes, something.
No, I just say Khan, sir.
Right. So now this is why it's so important, you know, in you, as we say, in this school, it have these brothers and them reside in this school, these 12 brothers, that whole spirit, that vibe, and the nation of Israel is in the I.S.U.P.K. So what was before, now the Most High God doing what? As we say, no longer we be two but one. So now we doing now, merging we back, we bringing back brothers. That is sport that the heathen brought amongst us, emerging us back. So when we telling our native indigenous people again and being, you know, knowing what they face, now we can be able to relay with them and bring warning. So it's like what we had before. We had the memorial burning of trumpets. We had the atonement. We had the Feast of Tabernacles. When you go back and you look at how they were living here, what they were dwelling in booths. Before, as we say, that again, the colonizers started to come through and started to colonize and started to enjoy, as we say, bringing, as we say, wicked inventions and started to take the ideas of blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians and turn it into some evil, just like he always does. Just like he always does. Right? Go ahead.
Khan, verse 45. Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 45. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsaret.
Right. You can look up that definition, Asret, Babusha.
Khan.
Right. So now it say for that country was a great way to go. So it show you it wasn't just that part, because now when you watch through the whole, we're all, as we say, all these as we say, these missiles flying, all these, as we say, bombs dropping. It show you our path. It wasn't an easy pathway through, right? You find it?
Lucky. 1 second, we'll shout one. So like it says, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration.
So you see, when again, when religion and a whole reading these records and the make or the draw reference that, you know, the Most High God destroy the earth with the flood, it only talk about what civilization was. Civilization was way in the east at that time. So this, as you say, bringing that to abrupt in the time of Noah had a reason why for that. Because of what? The same thing that is taking place right now. What we doing? We giving sons to the daughters, and we taking what? Their daughters for our sons. And he tell you that in Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 3. Tell me don't do that. Salakia, give me 1 minute.
Come, sir. You understand? And also to all those quote unquote fake Israelites, right? Who are trying to graft in heathens into the tribes of Israel. The proof that the 10 tribes are not in Africa, they did not go in Africa, is that Arsaret, as described into 2nd Ezra chapter 13, right? Verse 41, was a land where never mankind dwelt,
at the time, Africa was already populated. So how could the 10 tribes be in Africa if they were into a land where never mankind dwells? Like, and pass it back to Officer, I told him Swap Yala.
Yeah. Now you to have you go ahead. Yeah, you could, as I say, don't afraid to bring out your point because now we speaking the same thing. And you know, in reference to that now, again, just as you brought out, how, where did mankind dwell? Eh? And this is why now, again, read where at now? Where was that?
We just finished second Ezra 13:45, sir.
45, right? Go ahead to 46, Babu Kusha.
Wakan. Second Ezra chapter 13, verse 46. Then dwelt they there until the latter time. And know when they shall begin to come.
Right. So
Verse
right. So when it say then dwell they until the latter time, because again when you read higher up, it was giving you that whole insight with with us being separated, and you know they fleeing, or as we say the 10 and a half 10 and a half tribes. And again, this was, you know, because the Levites or the priesthood was amongst the people, was always amongst the tribes and them. And when we go back again, when you read through the records, only until, as we say, one of these, I think was Dan. Dan still exists today, right? But in the midst of the tribe of Manasseh, still exists today, because now he was the first, you know, that went off and was basically almost extinct. It only had women remain, the majority. So this is why now again that history is so important, and us not understanding or not being privy to this, as we say, to our native indigenous people, would be again today doing what? Worshipping the water god. You start to make, you know, gods are idols. And knowing this, in the records, they say, in the commandments, it says, thou shalt not worship no what? No other god. Right? And that was direct instructions. And it shows you how far brothers disconnect from that. Because what started happen? They started do what? They started make their own god. And this is why, you know, when Columbus come across here, he could have draw, as we say, he could have do, as you say, a whole new history about these people. The as you say, the scribes, these colonizers that came, they could have do a whole history because of what they saw. And what they saw this part of the nation doing what? Doing the same thing what we now read in First Kings. In Second Kings, 17. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Also, just
you're singing a little low.
Also, just to go back on what he had said earlier from the article, that Christopher Columbus was looking for trade routes in the West. It's also to keep in mind that he had a Hebrew translator.
Right.
So why just bring randomly a Hebrew translator, not knowing what people you would find there and what language would they speak?
Right.
Specifically had a Hebrew translator because he knew which people he would find there. Salak Yado.
Right. And you know the nice part about that, or a reminder when you open Babylon the tin back too. When you open it and you go, because just reading about this, and you go to, let me say, the page 113, right? It talk about the expulsion of the Jews from Spain and Portugal. And it gave a little in-depth sight on, just as you say, so how come you now could bring a translator from that time to now, because it show you around the same period of time what was taking place to who? To our brothers, as we say, to black people. We talk about that word black, we talk about the 12 tribes. We would use the term black here, and we would be speaking about these 12 tribes. A lot of people would hear the word black, and they would think it's skin color, quote unquote, African people, because again, we don't know African, we don't know stinking our minds.
Right.
We know, as we say, no dusty foot, as we say, pull long lip, big hair, as I say, lip plate in your mouth, die know who he is. We in them. No flying, buzzing over we mouth here and looking at, we say, hungry and dribble down on ourselves. The Most High God say, He never see the righteous forsaken nor beg bread. Despite in the worst condition, the Most High God is still take care of you. Yeah. Right? So again, this is why it's so important that this history must be reminded and must be brought out, right? We're at in the second Ezra.
Second Ezra chapter 13 verse 47. The highest shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they may go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitude with peace.
Right. So now it's showing you some word.
Karawakan, verse 48. But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders.
Right.
Verse 49. Now when he destroyeth the multitude of the nations that are gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain.
Right.
Second Ezra chapter 13 verse 50. And then shall he show them great wonders.
Right. And why? What we see happening now to our enemies. He bringing them to our demise. Now what we recognize, that the Most High God doing something. And the thing that he doing now is the people them that had a hand in oppressing us. We see that they become rivalry to one another. Just as they say, Egypt fighting against Egypt.
Karawakan.
They're fighting against one another now. Because why? The Most High God already stirred up the spirit. And we as a people now, we just back and we watching, we say, oh wait now. Nah, boy. Some wrong here. These people and them, as they say, we say you're paying for your deeds. Now it flipping. Everything flipping, right? Yes, sir. Amen. Jeremiah. Let me go to second Kings, and this is what just a reminder. 2 Kings 16 and 3, because now
Karawakan.
right,
This is the book of Second Kings, chapter 16, verse 3.
right,
But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, yea, and made his son to pass through the fire, according the abominations of the heathen,
right,
whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel.
right. So he say, but he made in the way the kings of Israel, yea, he made his sons to pass through the fire, and this is why now blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians, these records that we read out right now, it's so very important to us today that we should, not make our children go through the same thing. And this is why we say, hey, all come to class, fill up these seats and them. Come and ask a question. Because you thinking that this society like you. Yeah, go ahead.
Salaki, sir. Next week they're gonna celebrate Halloween next Thursday.
You see? And after Halloween, we have
Good night. Salakia. In the US, they have Thanksgiving. We just had Thanksgiving in Canada. Salakia. People just celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada last week. Next week, they're celebrating Halloween. Next month, they're celebrating Thanksgiving. And then the favorite day of the year for the heathens and the pagans and publicans, Christmas.
So you see what taking place? It's like hey, they already plan out. They already that plot in the mind. This is what they will do, and that's why again when we telling on native indigenous people that that don't feel that the colonizer like you, don't feel that he doing you a favor, because now the first thing he did, he come and infringe on your land, and in the scriptures they talk about infringing on a man's property or border. That was so disrespectful, and even up to the day, as you say, how much treaty they make with them?
More than 100 there.
And let me use this example from North America. Let me say, as I say, Canada, come straight down to Argentina through the Caribbean. How much you keep?
Not one.
How much you keep? And what they keep on doing? Now the colony, the colony Aztecs, the colony. Name some of the names and them that they give them.
The Aztecas, the Mayans, the Arawaks, the Incas, the Kalinago, the Caribs, the Taino, the Lucayans.
Look at that. So right through is an insult. Right through is an insult. And now in your mind now, with as I say, with this wide depiction, as I say, stick up on your wall with Santa Maria, Santa Rosa, however they just have it, because now every time now, because now just as we say in the Caribbean, we say All Saints Day on the horizon, where going to light that candle for the dead. All these things again is where they're pushing on you. And again, when you go back and you read the scriptures now, from the time you enter that cemetery, you're unclean for 7 days. You're unclean for 7 days. Because now we have quarantine laws. This is why when a king, as we say, when the brother he say, hey, let the dead bury, because now the work that I have going on here is so important. It's so important, and this is why everything it had order to it. And again, that structure and that order, the only space you can find that is in here, in the I.S.U.P.K. under Commander General YAHANNA. Because now why? Commander General YAHANNA follow who? Or King Yahawashi, with the instructions of the Most High God. And we follow Christ or Yahawashi. And this is why we follow Commander General YAHANNA. Right? And this is why we remind brothers and sisters that, hey, this is our people, this is our nation that was moved from following instructions to not following instructions, and was given the opportunity by the mercy and grace of the Most High, by, as you say, a righteous black man by the name of Yahawashi Mashiach, or Jesus Christ, which you will know him as, the opportunity to come back in good standing with the Lord, that he would show some mercy and favor unto us. And this is why we as our people, Blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians, and all these are just by names. And this is why as you say, the tongue we speak in is a bastard tongue. But what we doing now, this is the language of the day. This is how we reach out to brothers and sisters. And this is why as you say, you know being a brother who could speak, let me say, about 3 or 4 different languages. I just drawing reference. That is the spirit of the Most High. That is a blessing. Because why? Brothers and sisters who might be far off or far fetched in different, as you say, different parts of the earth, be able to do what? To hear this now. And the Most High God could wake them up within us. That's why I say everyone is going to get the opportunity to do what? To hear this. This is why now, as we say, the platform that we're on is that I tell you, unless a man can bring himself to the point where he know, hey, as a servant unto the Lord, I understand just as what as we say, just what Abraham did, before father did, and move yourself from the customs and cultures of the society, you would never be able to relate or have a conversation in, let me say, in the right mind with our brother. Because why? What you feed off of is, as we say, is what we call, you know, things that would just tarry for a while. What we speak about is something that living forever and ever and ever. This is what we're talking about. This is talking about, as you say, an everlasting covenant that was made between the Most High God and, you know, the chosen seed, who he chose to have his reputation be a representation of a high status or stature in the earth. And this is why we as a people must come back to these lower statutes and commandments. Right? Yeah, anything to add, or where we at right now?
Salakia, you just read 2 Kings chapter 16, verse 3, sir.
Right? Let me go to let me just go back to verse 17, because now we're going and reading a little more on what take place now with us now, or as we say, 9.5 or 10 tribes that moved or came through that pathway. Right? Go ahead. You can start from verse 4.
2 Kings chapter 17, verse 4. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison.
Right? And this is where we see now again, by us, you know, not having any alliance or with the heathen, as we say, because now when remember now when Columbus and them came, they as I say, with the treaties and them, they welcomed them with open arms. And what they did with that shaken, I think was that shaken, what they did with that shaken, they brought what? Smallpox or
So they brought all types of diseases before slaughtering them violently.
yeah. Right? All of that they brought upon us, upon these people, right? Because of why? And just as we say, what happened with Thanksgiving, the history on Thanksgiving, that next class, the whole history on that. Because now I teaching you to do what? To feed yourself. What you start to do now? You start to slaughter me from a side.
Right.
Yeah. You start to, as you say, unalive our people. Yeah. Go ahead.
So like that's so biblical, I don't want. You know why? Because what did Esau ask Jacob?
It's song and a little look.
Salakia, sir. I'm saying that's so biblical because what did Esau ask Jacob? Ask for food.
Right.
and he wanted to slaughter him.
Yeah.
What did the Spaniards ask the Gadites for food, and they slaughtered them? Salakia.
Yeah. So you see what go on? See what go on? And again, this is why everything that we talk about, read about, we can go back right inside of the records and we can find it. And we can prove it. Scripture says prove all things, we can prove it. We're not talking what we want. We could go inside of it, we could open the book, open the records, and we could show, hey, this is what take place. And this is why we say that, hey, this book, as we say, this compilation of books or Bible, this is our history. This is Black people history. I talk about Black people, I talk about the 12 tribes, these brothers and them, because we father leave instructions so we can follow. Right? Right. Yeah. You read part, right?
Karawakan.
Yes, sir. It's like
Oh, Salakia.
Officer Shah with me, Officer 500 Shah.
Shalom Yabashem Shabbat.
Yeah. Second Kings, you can start at verse 5.
Second Kings chapter 17 and verse 5.
Coming in clear, right?
Karawakan, we can hear him, out of one.
All right, go ahead.
Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years.
All right, go ahead.
Verse 6. In the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Tabor, like the river of Goshen, and in the city of the Medes.
And you see this verse right here. Now when we go back into Second Ezra 13 and talk about what happened, they were close to the rivers. So you see what take place. You see what take place. Now everything lining up. So now that pathway was already close. Let me say to the waterways. So anything happen, now they decide, yeah, we're going on. Hey, let me move. Let me move. Just like as we say, yeah, we had enough. Had enough. So let me move. We see the same thing happen as we say with our forefathers who was on the plantations. When they had enough, they say, that is it. Let we move, because now we start to look for certain pathways where we could separate ourselves from what? From these beasts and them. And the only way we would be separated from them is by us coming back together and moving away from them, from their customs and their culture. And as you say, drop the spirit of America, drop the spirit of Canada, drop the spirit of Trinidad, drop the spirit of Jamaica, drop the spirit of England. Wherever we reside, drop the spirit of Brazil, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, drop them spirit and come back to these instructions, because now we have righteous black men who the Most High God raised to do what? To bring these records or to bring this reminder, right? And this is why you see that when it say, I think in Jeremiah, you see that we give them, that you give them, as you say, pastor or men. I want to use the word pastor, not Christian pastor, but righteous black men after your own heart. We walk after this, as just I may mention, that commanding generally and I follow Jesus Christ, a black man. We follow commanding generally and we follow Christ. We follow, as we say, righteous black men. The Most High God, as you say, give a description of him in Daniel as a black man. And color does matter, because in a time like this, it gives a representation of identity. And this is what happened to our brothers and sisters, our native Indian brothers and sisters. They had lost that identity. Let me say that framework or that vision within the mind. Who is really the brother or who really is family? And start to run after what? After, let me say, the start to feed off our weakness. You know, as you say, they take the kindness or weakness. That will start to feed off the kindness and use it against us. And this is why, again, our native Indian brothers and sisters, I don't even like to even use that term. I say God, Ephraim, Manasseh. You know, these are brothers. It's some more, you know, more right using these as we say, using the names than as we say our oppressive name. But again, in order to get this out, this is how you were highlighted. This is how you know, were named by our colonizers, or as we say, our oppressors, and harder done as, let me say, the worst thing that society could ever have. Right? You can read a little more about, Christian.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord, their God, which had brought them out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had fed other gods.
Right? And this is why we tell, again, our brothers and sisters today, or native Indian, these gods that you worship, the smoke god, that even more thing. You know the smoke god with the lighty thing, and you know the puff. What does the puffing? What does the puffing? On a whole, that's why I say for low. You put the branch, we're not even supposed to be putting anything to we nose. No smoke. Putting it, as you say, puffing anything. Not supposed to be doing that. Because why? It's an abomination in the sight of the Lord. Right? Read on, Bible. Yeah.
Verse 8. And walk in the statutes of the heathens, whom the Lord cast out from before Israel.
Right? And why? We walk in, as we say, in the ways, we walk in the culture, we walk and sort of follow the customs. And the Most High God had removed them because of that. Right? Go ahead.
And of the kings of Israel, which they had made.
Right. Go ahead.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 9. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord, like their power.
What they do?
And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord, their power.
When as we say, we brothers and sisters, you know, from the next, from as the scripture said, from next 9.5 tribes came across. Say what they did? They did what? Things secretly, because now they leave on one mission and end up doing what? The opposite. This is why, you know, again, when you know, Columbus them came, and you know, as we say, our colonizers them came, they could have you know, label us and you know, put different names on us and call our brothers Caribs, call our arrow axe, give them, as you say, the Torah, all kind of, let me say, on words can't even describe it. What I want to say is just like, hey, let me just, hey, because it's an insult. That way, that basically way it is an insult. And who the that insult to, or that the insult was directed to, unto the Lord. Because now we when we stop walk after these instructions, we insult the Father. We bring his name into, as you say, into question. And this is why now when that happened, now we gotta, as you say, make the example. But again, we dwelling on that because now the Most High God is our loving Father and always had compassion towards the children and always made that pathway that, hey, here what's going on. You're erring. But it has ways to fix that. It has ways to fix that. And the ways to fix that is just sit down in class. Come to class. Come, sit down. It have men who are set after my own, men who are after my own heart, my own mind, my own spirit. They will bring you back up to speed. Ezra do the same thing. When you read Ezra inside it, where when when brothers and sisters brothers was coming back, they had different wives. What he had was to do. He had was to put them out and let them know, hey, because of this, we do something that was, unrighteous in the sight of the Lord by taking other wives. He had was to leave the wife and, as you say, the children out. But again, we have to thank the Lord for King Yahushai, which bring, as you say, open up that pathway where brothers and sisters could have that mercy and that grace. Because without that, as we say, nearly none of us would be able to do what? None of us would be able to do what? See? Right? Go ahead, Sasha.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 9. And it turned out that they did simply those things that were not right against the Lord, they called, and they built their high places in all their cities, from the towers of the watchmen to the fenced cities.
Right. Go ahead.
Verse 10. And they set them up images and proved in every high hill and under every green tree.
So when you watch throughout, as you say, throughout the Americas, even where our native indigenous brothers and sisters reside, you would see where they would set up a lot of these, images or a lot of these idols, and they would carve trees, and they would do a lot of these things, and it shows again that this same custom is what they did before, and they're doing it when they're doing it right now in 2024. How much thousands years ago? How much? They're still doing the same. Still come back and do the same thing. And this is why now the Most High God is our Father. Give me Jeremiah chapter 3, Bible question.
Oh, God. So, like I said, what verse?
Start at verse 1.
God, is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, verse 1. They say, if a man put away his wife and she go from him, and become another man's, shall he return unto her again?
Right? So this was our question. This was our question. Shall he return? Shall she return unto him again? Go ahead.
Karawakan. Shall not that land be greatly polluted?
And this is why we tell sisters and to understand the concept of what marriage is. Why sisters hold it something sacred. And anytime you give it up or you start to flush it around, I would say, just as you know, this society teacher, if you don't get a ring on your finger, you ain't married. So now that give all rights to do what? To dance, and you test the waters when it's some evil or some wicked. Because now the scriptures identifying something, and this is twofold. It's a reminder as well to our sisters. Because why? Go ahead.
Karawakan. But thou had played the harlot with many lovers, yet return again to me, said the Lord.
Right? And why? That land polluted. We say we dabble ourselves all about. Now we're returning back. And the Lord telling we now we went through, as we say, we practice all religion, just as we now read in Second Kings. Everything we did. Now we turning back to the Lord. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 2. Lift up thine eyes unto the high places, and see where thou had not been lying with.
So now look and see who you haven't, as you say, lie down with. See who you haven't lie down with, or see who you haven't been around. Now remember this. When as you say, we read earlier on, the nations and them that would be blessed from us. So it shows you now what happened that we lie with. You can't name. You can't tell me how nobody we lie down with. It never say that.
Right.
Because where we at now, we scattered way in the four corners of the earth. So who we lie down with? Right? That's why you say, look and see and tell me who we lie down with. Go ahead.
Karawakan. In the ways had thou sat for them, as the Arabian in the wilderness, and thou had polluted the land with thy whoredom and with thy wickedness.
So now it drawing reference to us as a heathen. It highlighted us as a heathen. Because now when you talk about our Arabian, who is them? The Arabs and them, the heathen. So it likened we to what? To having a heathen spirit. Having that spirit of a heathen. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Verse 3. Therefore the showers have been withholden, and there had been no latter rain, and thou hadst a whore's forehead. Thou refusest to be ashamed.
Right. And all we supposed to, as we say, we went and read Deuteronomy chapter 28, from 1 to 14 is only blessing. The Lord withhold that from 15 to 68. Because why? We refuse, as we say, and we are the head, as we say, as a harlot. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 4. Wilt thou not from this time cry unto me? My father, thou art the guide of my youth.
Right. So he asking me a question, You ain't gonna come to me? I've been your father since you're small. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Verse 5. Will he reserve his anger forever?
Will the
Will
Lord
he
keep
keep it to the
right?
end?
Right? Will he hold back? Will he keep it to the end? Go ahead.
Khan, behold, thou hast spoken and done evil things as thou couldest.
Right. Go ahead.
Khan, verse 6. The Lord said also unto me in the days of Josiah the king, hast thou seen that which backsliding Israel had done?
Mm-hmm.
She is gone up upon every high mountain
Mm-hmm.
and under every green tree, and there had played the harlot.
Right. So he highlighting something right now, because now it going more into it now, because now we talking about he going and show you, and this is why now it's so important to know that the native indigenous people, or I would say first people, and as we say the children of the transatlantic slave trade are brothers. This is where we're going into, because now we can't say that this happened to you, I never happened to me. I do this, and you never do it. It's showing you similarity. It's showing you brothers. So no brother can show off no more on a brother. This is who he is. Go ahead.
Khan, Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 7. And I said, after she had done all these things, turn thou unto me. But she returned not, and her treacherous sister Judah saw it.
Right. So yeah, we say the treacherous sister saw it. And this is why now again, by what's so I would say so right in his sight, in the Lord, and bringing us and waking us back up to these records with the example of the sister Anna from the tribe of Asher, who stayed in Jerusalem at that time until our King Yahushua come. That was the as you say, perfect example to show that that these 9.5 or 10 or how the scriptures recorded that flee to this side of the new world, Paul Asret, it had somebody from who was from of them, as we say, wherever I would name them, to be able to do what? To make known that this is who he is. He is family. He is family. And this is why now in all records it was recorded for specific reasons and for specific times. Because the time that we're in right now, you can show off on me and I can show off on you. Because why? We face the same, as we say, the same judgment that the Lord bring down on we as children. That bell pass. That bell pass through them brothers and them. Every one of we get cut ass. And one and get spade. Everybody get a belt on the backside. But know this. 11 note, all you get up now. Get up. That's all right. Drum down the verse. Go ahead, let me read on.
Karawakan, verse 8. And I saw, when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also.
So you see what go on? See what go on? They have done the same thing. Go ahead.
Karawakan, verse 9. And it came to pass through Toro the lightness of her whoredom that she defiled the land and committed adultery with stones and with stocks.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10. And yet for all this, her treacherous sister Judah had not turned unto me with her whole heart, but feignedly, said the Lord.
Right. So now imagine now you in the place where the Lord name is, as you say, Jerusalem, and you know you do that. That is a all the paid by that is like a sheep. That's a sheep. That's a sheep. Right? Go ahead.
Karawakan, verse 11. And the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel had justified herself more than treacherous Judah.
Right? So he say, and the Lord said unto me, the backsliding Israel had justified herself more than treacherous Judah. Go ahead.
Karawakan, Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 12. Go and proclaim these words toward the north.
And this
say,
is something, right? And this is something that what we doing right now. Lord telling, as you say, giving instructions to Jeremiah. We get instructions today. What we doing? We going and let we brothers and sisters know, as we say, indigenous people and them know, the First Nation people know. Go ahead.
Karawakan. Salakia. Return, thou backsliding Israel, said the Lord. Karawakan. Jeremiah chapter 3, verse 12. Go and proclaim these words toward the north and say, return, thou backsliding Israel.
Right, return, go ahead.
Said Karawakan, said the Lord. And I will not cause mine anger to fall upon you. For I am merciful, said the Lord. And I will not keep anger forever.
So the Lord letting them know, or letting us know, that he ain't gonna be angry with us. Our society put it. How this society, how all these other nations, highlighted it. That the Most High God do what? He done away with me. Pull we are away. That ain't record inside here. We reading, which have you find that inside here that the Most High God done away with me. Yeah? Again, this is why now any nation that take up these records and hold fast state, they will be charged. Then straight up. They have a charge. And the consequences of that is you, as this, again, saying blasphemous words against the Lord, or bringing lie, or bringing accusation that the Most High God did something when he didn't.
Karawakan.
Go ahead.
Karawakan, verse 13. Only acknowledge thine iniquity, that thou hast transgressed against the Lord thy God, and hast scattered thy ways to the strangers under every green tree, and ye have not obeyed my voice, said the Lord.
So now we let everybody in on as we say, we expose ourselves. We expose ourselves. So now to understand, hey, if I can get you to do this, to eat pork, lobster, crab, and shrimp, I get through. If I can get you to lie down with your brother wife, more or less, as we say, go to these abortions, I get through. These nations and them get through. Right? Go ahead.
Karawakan. Verse 14. Turn, O backsliding children, said the Lord, for I am married unto you, and I will take you one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion.
So now what happening there now? What happening there now?
So like it, sir. The Lord is saying, listen, come back to me so y'all could gather together.
That's right. So now we doing. He showing that just because now again Jeremiah bringing these instructions in the time of Jeremiah. The Most High God choose you, Jeremiah at that time to do what? And he say, we tell him, go and do what? Go and proclaim this unto who? Unto our people. So now we see that same thing. Us being chosen, as you see, that why Christ that why I say this as well to again in our record. He say, Christ said this, he said, no man can come unto me lest the Father draw him. Right? How we drawing you? With these instructions that we're reading right. Right? Hey, we up on the time. And again, that time that there's roll quick as well. And we go have as you say, a continuation, but on a whole, it's a reminder to our native brothers and sisters, as you say, first people. Don't think that you are alone rowing in a boat by yourself. Don't believe that, because now you knowing who your brother is or who family is, this is what will get you back that right standing. Without you, not adhering to these instructions, then these nations will continue to gobble you. But again, the Most High God always had mercy on us as a people and as a nation. And this is why, again, He would bring us back to these instructions. Again, it's I.S.U.P.K Trinidad and Tobago. Again, as a reminder to brothers and sisters, we have a school here in Morris Street, Point Fortin. Again, go up on our webpage, type in I.S.U.P.K Trinidad and Tobago. As you say, we are it's on Google. You can find me on the browser. I'm familiar with all them fancy things. With all them things, but you can Google it. Google it. You go find it. It have a number on the web page. You can type in number, you get directions. Right? Again, like, share, and subscribe to the classes and them. I.S.U.P.K also 500 Barakyala doing it up, as we say, in the spirit of the Most High and Christ, reaching out to brothers in different, languages, continuing pressing on in the world. Again, as you say, how to put it by a gifted brother in truth. Where, when I mean, the Lord, give him that, or bless him with that gift whereby he can, do translation and, talk to brothers and sisters in the language that some brothers might be privy to, and, count that as a blessing as well, whereby you can, have a conversation with brothers and sisters, and again, we continue to push this truth, continue to remind brothers and sisters, continue to, push on or press on in this book, Command in General, and has been holding it on. We continue to, follow the man that the Lord choose, the honest man. I always like to say this, with that rank and authority in the earth, a black man, true under the Most High and Christ, or King Yahushai, to bring this out and enlighten black people, Hispanic people, and Native Indian people about the history. And this is why we can be able to come on this platform where the Most High God provide, and be able to reach out to brothers and sisters. Again, come up on our page. We have classes, almost every day of the week. Just on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we join the live stream from North Carolina. On our Wednesday, DC. Thursday, we join, the live with Jennifer Hyman. And on Friday, our brother from the UK, a young, upcoming brother as well, holding down that Hebrew, spitting it, doing it wet, as we say, in that tongue, and raising young brothers and sisters right in learning the native tongue, right? And on Saturday, we have our Sabbath service, right? So we have a full week of activity right here in Trinidad. And again, brothers and sisters, again, is welcome to come to the school. Bring your questions, ask your questions, drop it in the inbox, and everything will be sorted out in the spirit that it moves. With that, pass the class to priest and officer Shalom.
This is the I.S.U.P.K. Security Element. We had I.S.U.P.K. out of 150 New York under command in General YAHANNA. New rules of brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are open for 6 months. They are yet to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves from the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to another brother or sister. There is another 6 months which the brother or sister will court each other. After the 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry, tithe, which is the commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means 10 in Hebrew as well as my share. 10% of every penny increase. The Lord give you a treasury department or teacher, please fund. Period offering for priests, non-mandatory, whatever amount you like to give. Upcoming holy convocation.
Yes.
Like it, sir.
I'll be the closing on the Feast of Tabernacles. SHALAM.
It's Thursday, 24th, sundown.
Feast of Tabernacles. Closing.
Really cool. The Feast of Tabernacles, the 15th of the 7th month for period of reading. That will be Wednesday the 6th, 16th to Tuesday, and Tuesday the 24th of October, 2024. Mind that you can watch on to check on social media such as I.S.U.P.K, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for I.S.U.P. events and material. If your brother wants to be a super in the school, then to start wearing all black, which includes black boots, like shirts, like pants, like headbands, or scarf. That's the same man. Start on. But the Lord pray Hebrew. Abanoah, about the English, your Father, heaven,
daily bread. Give us our debts. We forgive our debtors. Not the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
That's the teacher wants to do. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Shema
Watch me out,
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Yahweh Shem Shem Rakatam.
Yalmata. Sa. This is 9:1 Imagine Shabbat. Imagine Barak. Yahweh Shema
Yahweh
Yalmata.
So what again? Keeps on coming through, eh? So what again?
And the bars anytime.
Yeah. Right. So you keep it in tune. Yeah. Shalom Yahweh Shem Rakatam.
Allow, sir.